the one, the only, Ben Sion. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Iyun special Erev Pesach Yudalid edition of Iyun. Today we're talking about the Korban Pesach. What about if you shecht Korban Pesach Shalol Lishmo, L'Shem Ola, or Shem Shlomim, and it falls out Yudalid is on Shabbos, which today is not Shabbos. Falls out on Shabbos, you be chayv chatas because Korban Pesach Shalol Lishmo is not even a good korban at all, right? So you're violating Shabbos. However, if you have a different animal, you're makdish a korban ola, a korban shlomim, and then you shecht it, you think it's a korban pesach, you shecht l'shem pesach. So b'di'evid, it's a valid korban. Only korban pesach shachtu shelo shmo is not a valid korban. B'di'evid is a valid korban. So therefore, Yeshua says you're potter. You're not chayv chatas, even though it's not korban pesach. It's a different korban. You're not chayv korban chatas on Shabbos. Rather, it says you're chayv chatas, and the machlokas is really based on whether ta b'dvar mitzvah, you're toa b'dvar mitzvah, you're torah b'dvar mitzvah, you're engaged in a mitzvah, a korban pesach over here. Are you potter? Are you chayav chatas or not? Well, this is your chayav chatas. Rabbi Yeshua says not. Rameir adds in not only by korban pesach, it's also true by a murit tzibur on Shabbos, like korban tamid and korban musaf. You're allowed to shecht. However, if you shecht a korban ola, a regular korban ola in a dava, and I have in mind that it's the korban tamid, I made a mistake. So according to Rameir, it's also a torah b'dvar mitzvah. You're potter. According to Yeshua, you'd be chayiv in that case. Why you would be chayiv in that case? He says the reason is the korban pesach and lo kitzvah. There's a lot of people doing the korban pesach. The tamid, only one korban tamid is brought on Shabbos. Two, I mean, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. The korban musaf is only two korbanos, I believe, brought as a korban musaf on Shabbos. Not thousands of korbanos of korban pesachs brought. So therefore, there's a reason of Torah b'dvar mitzvah. You're actually Torah b'dvar mitzvah. It's complicated. You get confused. What animal is this? Is the korban pesach? Is this a shlomim? You don't know which korban you're using. But here by Shabbos, you should have figured it out. So therefore, you're responsible. Yeshua says in that case, he agrees to Rabbi Eliezer, and Rameir argues. Rameir says in that case, you'd be potter as well. Now, we pass on Rabbi Yeshua, not like Rameir. So you would have thought the explanation, and this is the way Rav Vadia Bartanura seems to make it out. The explanation of Rabbi Yeshua, the reason Torah Dvar Mitzvah is potter of korban chatas is because you did a mitzvah, you did something. Right, you did a mitzvah, and when you shech the korban shlomim l'shem pesach, that b'di'evid it's a good korban. It's just not ola l'shem shlomim or ola l'shem ola. It's not. It doesn't work for that korban. It's a valid korban. You can makar on the mizbeach, so you've accomplished the mitzvah. You haven't completely violated Shabbos. If you shech the korban pesach shalol l'shmo, it's a completely invalid korban. So you violated Shabbos. You haven't accomplished anything. Torah b'dvar mitzvah, you've accomplished something. You did partial mitzvah, so you shouldn't be held responsible for doing malacha on Shabbos. According to Rabbi Yeshua, right? So that's the reason. That's what the Rav Junior says. And according to Meir, would follow the Amorit Tzibur. Now, the reason, but the problem is that Rabbi Yeshua doesn't say that. Rabbi Yeshua says there's a difference to him. If that was the reason, Rabbi Yeshua, so it should apply to Amorit Tzibur also. Korban Tamid and Korban Musaf on Shabbos also. Because b'di'evid, if you did a Shalol Lishmo, I shouted a Shlomim, I shechted l'shem Tamid. It's a valid korban. It's not a korban Tamid, not Yotzei korban Tamid with it, but it's a valid korban. So I did a partial mitzvah, so I shouldn't be held responsible. That's the Shita Reb Meir. The Shita Reb Yeshua has to be something else. And he differentiated in the Mishnah between korban pesach ein lo kitzvah as opposed to more super yesh lo kitzvah. There's only one korban tamid, two korban tamid you bring on Shabbos. There's thousands of korban pesach. So it must be the reason Torah b'dvar mitzvah. The reason you're not chayiv is because it's confusing. Because of the idea of reason the makdim is you're supposed to do mitzvahs, right? You're supposed to do your korban pesach right away, as early as possible, to yotzei the mitzvah. And there's thousands of korban pesach where you might get confused. Oh, it's not the korban pesach. It's actually a korban shlomim that I'll be makro l'shem pesach. So a person's confused. It's about confusion. There's not the requisite level of shkaga, of pshia, of negligence to be considered a shogeg on Shabbos. It's not because you did a partial mitzvah according to Yeshua. It's because doing a partial mitzvah is not okay. You still violate the malacha. The reason that you're not considered shogeg, you only bring a korban chatzah is shogeg. It's less than shogeg over here. Shogeg admits some sort of negligence over here. Here you're not completely negligent because there's a lot of people doing korban pesach, and you have an obligation. Torah b'dvar mitzvah. The reason makdim mitzvahs, do your mitzvahs right away, and therefore you're supposed to do your mitzvahs. And when you're engaged in mitzvahs, you have to do it quick. And there's a lot of confusion over here. So it's not completely your fault over here. There's missing a level of negligence. It's not considered shogeg enough to be chayv chadas. That is the reason of Torah b'dvar mitzvah, Torah b'dvar mitzvah, according to Rabbi Yeshua. Torah, you're preoccupied with the mitzvah. You want to do it right away. There's confusion over here, and that's the reason of Torah by Mitzvah Potter, according to Yeshua. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.